Hi, it's Grandmama Doris. This story is Abigail's sensible advice. When David went away into the wilderness of Moab, now there was a man in Moab whose property was in Carmel. The man was very rich. He had 3,000 sheep, 1,000 goats, and he was shearing his sheep at Carmel. His name was Nabal, and his wife's name was Abigail. The woman was sensible and she was beautiful, but the man was rough and ill-mannered, and he was a Calebite. When David heard in the wilderness that Nabal was shearing his sheep, he sent 10 young men with the command, "Go up to Carmel and enter Nabal's house and greet him in my name. You shall say to him and to his family, 'Peace and prosperity be to you and your family, and to all that you have. Now I have heard that you have sheep shearers. Your shepherds were here with us. We did not insult them, and nothing of theirs was missing all the while they were in Carmel. Ask your young men if they will tell you. Therefore receive my young men favorably, for we have come on a feast day. Give also whatever you have at hand to your servants and to your son David.' When David's young men came, they spoke to Nabal for David as they were told, and then they waited. But Nabal answered David's servants, 'Who is David, and who is the son of Jesse? Many are the slaves these days who break away from their masters. Should then I take my bread, my water, my meat, and what I have prepared for my shearers, and give it to men whom I know nothing?' So when David's young men returned and told him, he said to them, 'Let every man put on his sword.' So they all put on their swords. David also put on his sword, and about 400 men followed David, and 200 stayed with the baggage. But one of the young men told Abigail, Nabal's wife, 'David has just sent messengers from the wilderness to greet our master, but he insulted them. The men have been very good to us, and we have not been harmed, nor have we had anything missing, as long as they were with them in the country. They were as well about as both night and day, and all of the time were near them and guarding the sheep. Now therefore decide what you will do, for evil is planned against our master and against all of his household, for he is such an ill-tempered man that no one can say a word to him.' Then Abigail quickly took 200 loaves of bread, 2 skins of wine, 5 roasted sheep, 5 baskets of parched grain, and 100 bunches of raisins, and 200 cakes of figs, and loaded them on donkeys. And she and her young men, 'Go on ahead of me. See, I am coming after you.' But she said nothing to her husband Nabal. And she was riding on the donkey and coming down under cover of a hill. David and his men were coming down toward her, so that she met them. David had just said, 'It was in vain that I guarded all of the belongings to this fellow in the wilderness, so that nothing has come missing, for he has returned me evil for good. May God bring a similar judgment upon David, and more too, if by daybreak I have a single man of all those who belong to me.' When Abigail saw David, she dismounted quickly from her donkey and bowed down before him with her face on the ground. As she fell at his feet, she said, 'Upon me, my lord, upon me the blame. Only let your servant speak to you and listen to her words. Let not my Lord pay any attention to that mean man Nabal, for as his name is, so is he. Fool is his name, and folly rules him. But your servant did not see young men of my Lord, whom you sent. Now my Lord, as surely as God lives, and as you live, since God has kept you from murder and from avenging yourself by your own hand, may your enemies and those who seek to harm my Lord like Nabal. Let this present which your servant has brought to my Lord be given to the young men who follow him. I beg you, forgive the wrong done by your servant, for God will certainly make my Lord's family strong. For my Lord is fighting for God, and you shall not be guilty of any evil deed as long as you live. Should a man rise up to pursue you and seek your life, your God will care for you, but he will cast away the lives of your enemies as long as from a sling. When God has done for you all the good that he has promised, and has made you the ruler over Israel, you will have to be sorry that you shed blood without cause, or that you were revenged by your own hand. When God gives prosperity to my Lord, then to remember your servant. David said to Abigail, Blessed be the God of Israel, who sent you this day to meet me, and blessed be your good sense. A blessing on you, who have kept me this day from murder, and from avenging myself at my own hand. For as surely as God, the God of Israel, lives, who has kept me from doing you harm, unless you had quickly come to meet me, truly, by daybreak, not one man would have been left to Nabal. So David received from her all which she had brought to him. And he said to her, Go back in peace to your house. See, I have listened to your advice, and I have granted your request. When Abigail returned to Nabal, he was holding a feast in his house like a king. He was feeling merry, and he was very drunk. So she told him nothing whatsoever until daybreak. But in the morning, when the effects of the wine were gone, his wife told him what she had done. Then his heart stopped beating, and he became like a stone. About 10 days later, he had a stroke, from which he died. When David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, Thanks be to God, who has punished Nabal's insult to me and kept me from doing wrong. For God has visited Nabal's crime upon his own head. Then David asked Abigail to become his wife. When his servants came to her at Carmel, he said, David has sent us to you to take you to him to be his wife. She rose and she bowed her face to the earth, and she said, See, your slave is willing to be even a servant to wash the feet of my Lord's servants. Then Abigail quickly rose and mounted her donkey, and 5 of her maids followed as servants. So she went with the messengers of David, and she became David's wife. Thank you so much.